Welcome to the inaugural Unforgettables Women's Spring Swing Scramble. My name is Karla Adams. I have 23 years experience in exercise science and sports nutrition. I'm here to give you some wonderful stretches and nutrition tips. I highly recommend getting involved with the Unforgettables, whether you donate your time or your money or just a game of golf. The Unforgettables is an amazing organization that helps families in need during one of their darkest hours. They help fund dignified burials for children that pass away. And what a blessing a family to receive in that dark hour when they lose something so precious to themselves. So I highly recommend donating or getting involved with the Unforgettables. Okay, ladies, let's get started. So we're going to focus on the glutes and the hamstrings today. Most all low back pain is caused from a combination of tight and weak muscles. Okay, and the muscles that actually get tight are the glutes, the hamstrings, and the psoas. So most people, when they have back pain, they're like, oh, my back hurts, there's something wrong with my back, but it's actually, there's nothing wrong with your back. Most of the time, it's tight glutes and hamstrings, and that happens whether you're exercising or not. And if you're a person predispositioned for that, and you start exercising, you might even notice it even more. So you always want to make sure to listen to your body. If you're really tight and you're not getting loose enough, and it's affecting your performance or causing injuries, then you need to do more stretching or massage or other things that really help those muscles relax from all the exercise or just, you know, their condition, their natural condition of being tight. Okay, so the next exercise. Okay, ladies, we're going to get into some more stretching. The first one I'm going to show you is an isometric engagement. So we're isometrically engaging all of our muscles as well as putting in a stretch. So what we're going to do is stand on one foot, and if you cannot balance on one foot, grab onto the golf cart, okay? And have a goal to stand on one foot, because this is a stabilizer exercise, right? We all need strong stabilizers for every exercise we do. So what you're going to do is you're going to start swinging your leg back and forth. You're isometrically engaging all these core muscles, really elongating. What we're doing is we're actually stretching the glute and the hip flexors. Glute, hip flexor, glute, hip flexor, and we're using momentum and isometrically engaging all of our muscles. This is an amazing exercise and a stretch at the same time, okay? And just like any tempo stretches, they're one of the most safest ways to stretch out the muscles, because you're sitting there listening to your body, and as your body loosens up, then you go farther. And so ideally when you do this, you really want to get it going long, you know, so that you're really stretching it out, and then it's also really challenging your core. But again, if you can't stabilize without holding on, just hold on to the golf cart and then move up to that. Okay, so the next exercise, we're going to go ahead and tempo stretch down. We're going to hit some more glutes. So we're going to just sit there and stretch. You can actually reach to the back of your foot, or you can just bend your elbows, and you're just going to get in a tempo stretch. You know, and I usually, for all these stretches, like 30 seconds to a minute. If you can do a minute, it's better. The more stretching, the looser you get. But if you're short on time, of course, you can do little 30-second intervals or just count to 30 with each rep, right? And so I just hit 3 different points that are really just stretching out the glutes. And I'm doing it with the tempo stretch, which with each little bounce, it kind of moves me a little bit further with that momentum, okay? The last one I'm going to show you is another one that's going to also challenge the cores. And if you need to, you can start by holding onto the golf cart while you do this one. Or if you're at a point where you can use your stabilizers, then challenge them. You're going to bring one foot back. You're going to stretch out this your hip flexor, and you should feel it throughout your quad. And so this is an isometric exercise, so I'm warming up my entire body while I'm stretching out my quads and my hip flexor. So it's kind of like 2 in 1. Okay, so I mentioned I was going to give some recovery tips in the last video. So the thing that rebuilds anything in our body is actually protein. Protein is the building block of the body and the communication center. It's like our powerhouse. There's actually 22 amino acids that our body uses. 8 of them your body does not produce. Okay, so what that means is every single time you see a bottle that says 1 gram of protein, 15 grams of protein, what it's telling you is 1 gram is the 8 essential amino acids that your body does not produce. Okay, so I mentioned there's 22, so that means all the other ones your body actually does produce. And so if all's right in chemistry, your body's producing these other amino acids, but it's required to get these 8 from food. Now, whether that comes from a meat source or a non-meat source, it doesn't matter. We just need to get that combination of 8. But the thing, some of the deficiency can happen if you actually do not get enough of the essential amino acids. And that's why they're called essential, because our body's not producing them. We have to get them from outside sources. So a little bit on the different types of proteins, okay? So you can have a meat source, which is a complete protein, or you can have a vegetarian source, which is usually missing 1 or 2 amino acids. When it comes to protein, you want to make sure to, if your target is health or recovery, you want to make sure to choose the source that your body is going to respond most to. Now, not everybody's genetics are the same. So on one extreme end, you have people that work well off of these grain, vegan type, vegetarian type diets, like their metabolism is actually designed for that. And on the other extreme end, you have people that their metabolisms are actually designed for these slow digesting meats, you know, if you actually, where it takes work to actually break apart. Most people in the world lie somewhere in the middle, leaning to one side or the other. And that really comes from genetics versus lifestyle. We are a mixing pot nowadays. What's a mixing pot, you ask? Well, mixing pot just means for thousands of years, we've moved all over the globe and we've kind of mixed around, with just creating different babies and expanding. And we're kind of a mixing pot when it comes to ethnicities and everything in the world. But our metabolisms are too, because our parents give us a set of genetics and then we live our lifestyles a certain way. So if our parents were a meat eater, we might most likely be a meat eater. If they were a vegetarian, we might most likely be a vegetarian. But just statistic, like from the science, though, most people lie somewhere in the middle, leaning to one side or the other. But most people do need slow digesting meats. Okay, what that means is an actual meat source. Like if you were to take a piece of chicken or a piece of meat and sit there and rip it apart, you could tell that it's very thick, and it actually takes a lot more work to break it apart. Whereas you take a bean, you could just smash it, right? And it just goes really, really quickly. Well, if you have a slow digesting system, you need that meat that takes a long time to break apart, right? And it's going to help keep you're the most balanced. You know, the most balanced combination is the protein carb combination for a 3-hour period for satisfying your system. Whereas if your body's designed for this, the faster ones, then it'll function well off of those. But if you have a system that's designed for slow digesting meat and you're on something that goes through the system very quickly, your body may not be satisfied. So that could be a symptom. So I always recommend people to do research on this stuff. And now this is just if you're choosing to eat meat or not based off of health or maybe just, systems. Like if you have some other reason that you don't want to eat meat, you do not actually need to get your protein from meat at all. I worked with tons of vegetarians and that are actually marathoners or ultra marathoners, which is one of the most extreme sports to be in because your protein requirements all that much more higher. But you just need to know how to do it, and you need to get it from different sources. And we need to get those complete proteins. So usually the average person, and you really want to look this up for yourself to make sure that the number is right for you. But, for a woman, anywhere between 60 to 80 grams of protein per day might be sufficient, just depending on the person's goal and what they're doing and how much they're actually doing physical activity. But that's kind of a good range to kind of think about in the back of your head for an active person. Another thing to incorporate into your plan for recovery is branched-chain amino acids. So I told you earlier there's 22 amino acids that our body uses, okay? It uses it to rebuild our body, right? Anytime you get a cut, a protein goes over there, an amino acid, which is a protein, goes over there and rebuilds it. Anytime you get a surgery and your organs are cut, an amino acid goes over there and rebuilds it. Anytime anything, your hair is made out of protein, like your entire body, it's just protein. It's just some combination of those 22 amino acids, right? And 8 are essential that we have to get from outside sources. Out of that 8 that come from outside sources, there are 3 specific ones that aid in the rebuilding of muscle tissue, right? And we're actually used to thinking of protein only referencing to muscle tissue. And that's just because of marketing, right? Because we have a lot of fitness enthusiasts out there, all of you are watching right now, that like to train. And so we have all these industries going out marketing to you their protein sources. And so that just has had the biggest voice in protein. But protein and amino acids are involved in all the healing process and health and well-being of your body. Okay, but back to those amino acids. There's 3 specific that help rebuild muscle tissue. And so if you are doing more activity and you increase those 3 aminos, it increases your recovery rate, especially if you get a powder source. If you think about it, I was just telling you earlier the digestion process, right? A piece of meat takes a lot of work, right?
you think how much meat, how much work it takes to break down that meat to get down to an actual amino acid and actually absorb that through your small intestine. That's going to take a long time compared to a bean or compared to a powder, right? That's why they say usually to drink a protein shake after a workout or to incorporate protein shakes. And some people, I don't recommend protein shakes because they create a lot of digestive issues. But the benefit to them is that they're liquid and your body does not have to digest anything, it just absorbs it. But the amino acids, I 100% recommend to most all people. Just from a health and well-being perspective, it increases serotonin levels to the brain, but it also just really aids in that recovery process. And usually a good, if you read the bottles, it'll say to take it like once to twice per day. That's usually a good thing. The more active you are, the more you want to take it, but at least once per day or at least after all activity. The more recovery you want, the more benefits you want from that recovery, the more you want to do stuff to make sure that you protect your recovery and that you understand what your formula for recovery is. So, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, or I highly recommend just reaching out to somebody to just so that you're getting personalized information. And I look forward to seeing you guys on May 3rd. Bye, ladies.